Hey everyone, welcome to the Personal Finance Podcast. I'm Daniel.
And I am Anna.
And we love exploring things about personal finance as well as understanding how global news and trends impact our wallets.
Let us remind you that we are not financial advisors, but we dive into TED Talks, interviews with the best investors, books, news alerts, advisors analysis, and more.
You don't need to be a Wall Street expert to make smart decisions with your money. This episode is for you if you want to be able to think like a CEO of your own life.
Let's dive in. Okay, I want you to close your eyes for a second. Picture this. You are sitting on a pristine beach in the Caribbean. I'm talking white sand, turquoise water, maybe a little umbrella providing some shade. You have a cold daiquiri in your hand or, whatever your drink of choice is. And here's the best part. You're making money right now.
That does sound like a very pleasant, if slightly suspicious scenario.
Oh, it gets better. You're making money while you sip that drink. You're making money while you sleep. You're making money while you're snorkeling.
Okay.
According to the source material we're covering today, you're even making money while you're, in the bathroom. And the pitch is, you're doing all of this without lifting a single finger.
Yes. The ultimate passive income dream. I have a feeling we are about to be introduced to Jerome.
We are indeed. Today, we're doing a deep dive into a classic piece of financial writing from a blogger named Pierre. The article is called Investing for Dividends, 3 Mistakes to Avoid. It's from back in 2017, but the lessons are, arguably even more relevant today. And it opens with this testimonial from a guy Pierre calls Jerome. Jerome claims he's earning 9% dividends on his stocks completely automatically. He admits he knew absolutely nothing about the stock market a few months ago, but now he's practically bragging that his dividends are paying for that Caribbean vacation.
It is an incredibly seductive pitch. And honestly, I get why people fall for it. Who doesn't want to replace their salary with mailbox money?
Right.
But Pierre uses this Jerome character to represent a specific type of investor. The client who looks at a high number like 9% yield and just assumes they found a glitch in the matrix that everyone else missed.
Exactly. And look, our mission today isn't to say dividend investing is bad. The author actually calls it an excellent way to diversify your income.
It can be.
But we are here to completely deconstruct the dangerous advice that creates people like Jerome. We're going to unpack 3 specific fatal errors that turn this dream of passive income into a nightmare of capital loss.
And just to set the stage here, when we say deep dive, we aren't just going to list the mistakes. We need to look at the market mechanics and, I think more importantly, the psychology behind them. Because what Pierre is really saying is that the stock market is a counterintuitive place.
How so?
Well, often what looks like a safe bet, a high payout, is actually a trap door waiting to open under your feet.
So let's get into it. Mistake number 1. Pierre calls this the high yield trap. And this is really the foundation of Jerome's entire strategy.
Right. So Jerome logs into his brokerage account. He sees a big recognizable name. In the article, the examples are these French giants like EDF and Société or Société Générale.
Yeah.
And next to the name, he sees a percentage, 9%.
And his brain just goes, bingo.
His brain goes, if I put 1,000 euros in, I get 90 euros back every single year. That beats my savings account. It beats bonds. It beats everything.
Okay, but I'm going to play devil's advocate for a second, because if I'm Jerome, I'm thinking, math is math. If the screen says 9%, I'm getting 9%. Why is that a trap? Are you telling me I should ignore a massive payout just because it looks too good to be true?
That is exactly the question we need to answer. To understand why it's a trap, we have to look at how that 9% number is actually calculated.
Okay.
It's not set in stone like a bank interest rate. It's a dynamic fraction.
Okay, walk me through math.
The formula for dividend yield is simple. It's the dividend amount divided by the stock price.
Dividend divided by price. Got it.
So think about fractions. If you want the result, the yield to go up, there are 2 ways that can happen. Way number 1, the company is doing fantastic, they're swimming in cash, and they decide to increase the dividend payout. That increases the numerator.
Which is the good scenario. That's what we all want.
Right. But there is a second way to make that yield percentage skyrocket. And that happens if the denominator, the stock price, gets smaller. Yep. If the stock price crashes, the yield percentage mathematically shoots up, even if the company hasn't changed the payout by a single cent.
So wait a minute. You're saying a high yield might not mean the company is generous. It might just mean the company's value is tanking.
Precisely. It's an optical illusion. The yield is a backward-looking metric divided by a forward-looking price. And Pierre gives us this brutal case study using EDF to illustrate this.
Yeah, the numbers he lays out are pretty stark. He points out that in less than 10 years, EDF stock fell from 80 euros down to 10 euros. I mean, that is a catastrophic drop for a major utility company.
It is. But let's zoom in on the specific mechanism of the trap during that fall. Let's look at the scenario around 2015. Hypothetically, let's say the stock was trading at 20 euros, and let's say they were paying a dividend of roughly 1 euro per share.
Okay, doing the mental math. 1 euro dividend on a 20 euro stock, that's a 5% yield. That's pretty respectable.
Correct. Now, fast forward a year to 2016. The market sees trouble ahead for EDF. Maybe it's debt, maybe it's nuclear regulations, whatever it is investors are selling. The stock price gets cut in half. It falls to 10 euros.
Ouch.
But, and this is key, the dividend hasn't been cut yet. It's still listed at 1 euro based on the last payment.
So now the calculation is 1 euro divided by 10 euros.
Which is?
10%.
Exactly. The yield just doubled from 5% to 10%. To a naive investor like Jerome, he looks at the screen and thinks, wow, this stock pays 10%. It's a better deal than it was last year.
But in reality, the yield only looks that high because the company's value has collapsed by 50%.
The house is on fire, and he's happy because it's getting warmer.
That is a great way to put it. The high yield is actually a distress signal.
It is a siren screaming that the ship is sinking.
Rawr.
But Jerome buys in anyway. And Pierre breaks down the financial consequences, which he calls the portfolio disaster.
Right.
Let's say you followed the yield and bought 1,000 euros worth of that stock at the start of the crash.
Okay, so I'm all in. I buy 1,000 euros worth. I'm thinking about my decories. I get my 10% dividend, right? So that's 100 euros cash in my hand.
You get your 100 euros cash, yes. That part is real. But look at your principal. You bought the stock, and then it dropped 50%. So your 1,000 euro investment is now worth only 500 euros.
So I have 500 in stock plus 100 in cash. That's 600 total.
Which means you have lost 400 euros. You have wiped out 40% of your total wealth in less than a year.
That is absurd when you say it out loud. You are literally losing nearly half your money just to chase a small payout.
It's like picking up pennies in front of a steamroller.
Exactly.
That's the classic Wall Street analogy for this. And yet, I guarantee you, if we went online right now, we would find people defending this. They'd say, well, I don't care about the stock price. I'm a long-term investor. I'm in it for the income. As long as they keep paying me that 10%, I don't care if the stock is at 10 euros or 5.
Which feels like a logical defense, doesn't it? I'm not selling, so the price doesn't matter. But that brings us directly to mistake number 2.
It does.
Because that defense relies on one massive assumption, that the dividend will actually keep coming.
Yes. Mistake number 2 is confusing stocks with savings accounts or bonds.
The source material specifically mentions the Livret A, which is the standard safe savings account in France. And there is this deep-seated misconception that a dividend is a contract. Like, you promised me 9%, you owe me 9%.
And this is where we have to be very, very clear. There is a fundamental difference between being a creditor and being an owner.
Break that down for us, because I think most people blur those lines.
Okay, if you buy a bond, let's say an EDF corporate bond, you're lending money to the company. You're a creditor. The company has a legal obligation to pay you the interest rate, say 2%, and pay back your principal. If they don't, they're in default. They go bankrupt. It's a contract.
Okay, so it's like a mortgage they have to pay.
Exactly. But a stock. When you buy a stock, you are an owner. You're taking on the business risk. The dividend isn't a bill they have to pay. It's just the board of directors deciding, hey, we have some extra profit. Let's share it with the owners.
Like an allowance.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It is exactly like a parent giving a kid an allowance. But what happens if the parent loses their job? Or if the roof starts leaking and they need to pay for repairs?
The allowance is the first thing to go, sorry, kid, no movie money this week.
Exactly. The dividend can be cut, reduced, or eliminated at any moment. There is no contract. And Pierre calls this scenario the double whammy. Because remember, our Jerome investor, he ignored the falling stock price because he wanted the income.
Right. He said, the stock price is down 50%, but I still get my check.
But think about why the stock price is down 50%. Usually is because the company is in financial trouble. And if the company is in trouble, what is the very first thing they do to save cash?
They cut the dividend.
They cut the allowance. So the investor gets hit from both sides. Their capital has been slashed by the price drop. A&D, the income stream they were relying on, disappears.
Did that actually happen with the examples in the article?
Oh, absolutely. Pierre notes that with EDF, the dividend wasn't safe. In 2015, it was cut from €1.25 to €1.10, and further cuts were predicted. But the real horror story he brings up, the one that really keeps investors up at night, is Société Générale.
Yeah, this was the second pick from our friend Jérôme, one of the biggest banks in Europe. You'd think that's as safe as a vault.
Well, let's look at the history Pierre provides. If you were chasing yield there, you got crushed. In 2008, during the financial crisis, the dividend was cut. Okay, understandable. But then in 2011, it was canceled entirely. Zero.
Wow. So you're holding the stock, the price has plummeted because of the crisis, and you get absolutely nothing in the mail.
Nothing. Then they brought it back, but cut it again in 2012. And here's the kicker. Writing in 2017, Pierre notes that the stock price was still below where it was in 2009 and miles away from its historical highs of 2007.
So it never recovered.
Not in that time frame. If you bought at the top chasing yield, you saw your money divide by 3 and your income stream dried up completely.
He paints a really vivid picture of the human impact here. It's not just numbers on a screen. Imagine a retiree who listened to this Jérôme advice. They put their nest egg into Société Générale thinking, I need that 9% to pay my electric bill and buy groceries.
And suddenly the check doesn't come. They are left with a fraction of their savings and zero income. That is why Pierre calls this advice dangerous. It's not just about optimizing returns, it's about financial survival.
It really highlights that you can't just look at the percentage sign and switch off your brain. You have to understand the business. But this leads us to the third mistake. And honestly, this is the one that I find the most fascinating because it's not about math, it's about psychology.
Yes. Mistake number 3, the sales fallacy and anchoring bias.
We all love a bargain, right? I mean, if I walk into a store and I see a pair of jeans that cost €100 yesterday and today they're marked down to 50, my brain immediately fires off dopamine. I'm thinking, what a deal, I should buy 2.
In retail, that logic works perfectly. The jeans are the same jeans, the quality hasn't changed, so paying less is objectively better. But Pierre warns, and this is crucial, that in the financial markets, those rules do not apply.
He quotes an old stock market proverb, don't catch a falling knife.
It's a gruesome image, but accurate. Just because a stock has fallen 50% doesn't mean it's cheap. It can fall another 50% from there, and another 50% from there. It can go to zero.
But why do we do it? Why is our instinct to buy when we see a drop?
It connects to how our brains process numbers. Pierre brings up the concept of anchoring bias. This comes from the Nobel Prize-winning work of Kahneman and Tversky.
I love this stuff. And instead of you just explaining it, maybe, can we try it?
Try it.
Yeah, let's see if it works on me. The article mentions that experiment with Gandhi, right?
Ah, yes. Okay, let's do it. I'm game. I was going to ask you a question about Gandhi, and I just want you to answer honestly.
Okay, lay it on me. I'm ready.
Did Gandhi die before or after the age of 140?
Well, seeing as no human has lived to 140, clearly before.
Okay, easy enough. Now, knowing that, I want you to give me your best guess. How old was Gandhi when he died?
Man, I should know this. I'll say 85.
Okay, 85. Now, here is how the experiment works. You're in Group B. In the original study, there was a Group A who were asked, did Gandhi die before or after the age of 9?
Which is also ridiculous.
Right. But when Group A was asked to guess his actual age, their average guess was significantly lower, around 50. Whereas Group B, who heard the number 140, guessed significantly higher, around 67. The actual answer, by the way, is 78.
Wait, so just hearing the number 140, even though I knew it was a stupid, impossible number, it pulled my guess upwards.
Precisely. That number anchored your perception. Your brain used 140 as the starting point and adjusted down from there, but it didn't adjust enough. Group A started at 9 and adjusted up.
That is wild. We are literally hardwired to get stuck on the first number we see.
We are. Now, apply this to the stock market. You open your app, you see a stock trading at €100. That is your anchor. That is what you think the stock is worth.
Got it. €100 is the standard.
Then, 3 months later, the price drops to €50. Because you are anchored at 100, 50 feels cheap. It feels like a massive discount. Your brain screams, buy.
But the market isn't a department store.
No, the market is a weighing machine. If the price dropped to 50, it's usually because the collective intelligence of millions of investors has decided the company's broken. Maybe they lost their biggest client. Maybe they're drowning in lawsuits.
So by focusing on the difference between 150, I'm ignoring the reality of the business today.
Exactly. You are buying a problem because you think you're buying a discount. As Pierre puts it, a €100 stock that goes to 50 isn't on sale. It's a company that the market thinks is worth half as much as it used to be.
So we've got the high yield trap, the confusion with savings accounts, and this sneaky anchoring bias. It feels like a minefield out there for the average person. But Pierre doesn't just leave us depressed. He offers a solution section with some pillars of defense.
He does. And we should spend a moment on these because this is the practical toolkit. He offers 3 specific rules to avoid becoming a Jerome.
Let's go through them. What's the first pillar?
Check the history. Pierre says you must look at the track record of the dividend. But don't just look at last year. Look at the last 5 or 10 years.
Okay, so if I'm looking at a stock, what am I looking for specifically?
You're looking for the dynamic. Is the dividend rising steadily like a staircase? Or is it choppy? If you see they cut it in 2012 and then froze it in 2014 and cut it again in 2015, do not assume 2017 will be different.
Right. Past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior. If they have a habit of cutting your allowance, don't rely on it.
Exactly. A consistent history of payments is a sign of health. A history of cuts is a sign of sickness.
What's the second pillar?
Don't be greedy. This is a direct counter to the high yield trap. Pierre suggests treating a super high yield as a red flag, not a golden ticket.
Is there a specific number where we should get suspicious? Like, is 4% safe but 8% is dangerous?
It varies by industry. But generally, if a yield is significantly higher than the market average, say double what other safe companies are paying, you need to ask why. Pierre uses a great analogy here. He says, buying a stock only for its yield is like marrying someone only for their looks.
That is fantastic and probably accurate.
It usually ends badly. If looks or yield is your only criteria, you are ignoring the substance. You need to know if the relationship or the company is sustainable. Is the partner actually nice? Is the company actually profitable?
I love that. And the third pillar?
Investigate the price. This is the weapon against anchoring bias, Pierre says. Never buy just because the price is low. You must be able to explain why the price is low.
That sounds like homework.
It is homework, but it saves you money. Be a detective. If the stock fell 50%, find the news article that explains why. Is it a temporary overreaction, or is their main factory burning down?
So if I can't say the price is down because of X, but I think the market is wrong because of Y, then I shouldn't touch it.
Correct. As Pierre says, if the company is sick, it won't pay you. You aren't buying a lottery ticket. You are buying a piece of a living company. If the company fails, the paper is worthless.
It really all comes back to that fundamental truth, doesn't it? Remembering what a stock actually is.
It does. It's so easy to get gamified, to get lost in the charts and the flashing red and green lights and the percentages. But ultimately, you are becoming a partial owner of a business. If that business is a lemonade stand that has no lemons and no customers, it doesn't matter if the sign says 100% yield, you aren't getting paid.
So let's bring this all together. We started with the allure of that Caribbean cocktail, paid for by magical dividends. It's a beautiful dream.
It is. But we realized that chasing that dream blindly leads to the high yield trap, where the yield is only high because the price has crashed.
We learned that unlike bonds or savings accounts, dividends are not guaranteed. They are voluntary payments that get cut the moment things get tough.
And we discovered that our own brains are working against us with anchoring bias, tricking us into thinking that a collapsing company is just a sale item.
It is a sobering reality check, but I think a necessary one. Now, before we sign off, we'd like to leave our listeners with something to chew on, something that takes this source material and pushes it just a little bit further.
Well, I've been thinking about that anchoring bias we talk about in terms of stock prices, seeing 50 euros as cheap because we saw 100 first. But once you know about this bias, you start seeing it everywhere. It applies to so much more than just finance.
Give me an example. How else does this mess with us?
Think about your salary negotiations. The first number thrown out on the table anchors the entire negotiation. If they offer low, you fight to get a little more, but you're still trapped in their range. Or think about your habits.
My habits.
Sure. Are you holding on to a project or a hobby or even a relationship just because of what it used to be worth to you? Are you anchored to the value it had 3 years ago, ignoring the fact that today it's costing you energy and giving you nothing back?
Wow. That hits deep.
If our brains are hardwired to be tricked by anchoring prices, seeing a drop as a discount rather than a warning sign, what other financial or emotional bargains in your life right now are actually just falling knives waiting to be caught?
That is a question that is definitely going to keep me up tonight, but hopefully it keeps our listeners thinking too. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
A pleasure as always.
So catch you on the next one. Stay curious.